Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
Be a duty.
And I am the reliable one, Derek Lemaster.
This is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and Derek gives himself totally untrue nicknames.
Dude, I am the most reliable flatulator that has ever
Well, that's true.
existed on the planet.
I thought you were just going to talk about how reliable. You're like, look, nobody's more reliable than I am.
Nobody. I've got so many awards from the Reliable Association of America.
That you also own.
Yeah, it's trademarked. You can't use that.
So, guys, how we doing tonight?
Doing good. I ate way too much Halloween candy way too early
Mm.
in the month. It's not even October yet, and I'm like, Halloween candy?
Yeah, it's a whole month early.
Yes, so I'm probably
We
going
bought
to
our
sugar
candy.
crash anytime.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How
Hey,
you doing,
guys.
Derek?
You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say a 7.3. I'm okay.
It's not bad. That's pretty high. That's
You
pretty
know.
respectable.
It's
I'm doing pretty
above
good.
the mid-range.
Getting some casting done with the movie. We got the scene back. By the time this is uploaded, you guys will have seen the Kickstarter or the Indiegogo, which is going to be up. We'll have a link right down here for it. And you'll be able to go get the pre-launch, get ready, so that way we can launch into this movie that we're making. We're super excited, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're putting together a pretty great cast. It's not easy casting a movie, by the way, because you meet so many good actors. So many. And every actor we read, thank you for coming out and reading. You guys were all awesome. But, guys, we're here not to talk about that movie yet. We will. We'll do a Screen Bloody Movies on our own film one of these days. But until then, we've got to talk about...
Conflict of interest?
No, what are you talking about? It'll be like if I go golfing on my own golf course and I just win all the championships. It's fine. It's totally legitimate. It happens all the time. So here's what we're going to do before we get into tonight's movie of The Others, which we will get into. We are going to dig into a little bit of the horror news. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Didn't have a whole lot, but at first I was worried that I wasn't going to have any. And then I found some. So, yay me. All right, let's start with this. This is interesting. Alien Romulus has just become the highest grossing horror movie of all time in IMAX theaters.
What?
Yes. So it was reported, basically it made $101 million in the U.S., $331 million worldwide. I don't have the actual numbers for the IMAX itself, but it's ended its run, or at least so far, it is up to around so $400 million, over $400 million. So doing some work, and you guys have got to see it because I've seen it and quite enjoyed it, and we'll discuss it on here one of these days. We still have a lot of aliens to go through. We've only done the first one. We have, I think, 5 more to go. Well, if we count we did AVP as well, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did AVP as well. So we've done 2 alien movies. We didn't do AVP Requiem because we had, we didn't have enough bright screens to see it. So even when we watch that, we're not going to be able to know what's going on. Speaking of Alien, since we're in the alien world, we've got some updates on the new TV series Alien Earth from Noah Hawley. He basically, one of the things that was the big question is, will we see a xenomorph? And the answer is yes. We will be seeing a xenomorph. And the setting of the story takes place a few years before Prometheus. So it's even pre-Prometheus.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So this thing is on the way. It's going to be on Hulu. Are you guys excited for an alien small screen story?
I'll take it.
Yep.
Keep cranking those babies out. If they're anything like the quality of the one I just watched, then I'm good with it. Let's keep bringing them, right?
Yeah.
Yarp.
All right. This is interesting. Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy fame has been cast to play Ed Gein in season 3 of Netflix's Monster series.
Saw that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I think that's amazing. I think that's genius casting. I love it. I think it's great.
I roughly know who he is. I've never seen an episode of Sons of Anarchy, but why not?
Yeah, I think he's a fine actor. I was not like a big Anarchy head. My parents were. They watched that show from beginning to end. I ended up watching it, and I watched it through the series, but like I wasn't like a dieharder, so I know how it ends, and I've seen most of the big beats and most of the episodes, and it's fine. It's a well-written show, and he's really good in it. So I know that that monster, the first one, Jeffrey Dahmer, was pretty good. Dark shit. With Evan Peters as Dahmer. And then this new one, the second season's out now, which is over the Menendez brothers. It premieres this week, so that'll be interesting. And the Ed Gein story's fairly interesting. He's mostly known as a grave robber, with some murder sprinkled in, and he is loosely one of the inspirations for Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that sounds interesting, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, guys, we've got ourselves an official poster for Nosferatu. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. You guys want to see it?
Yes.
Yeah, let's see it.
Can alligators bite your toe off?
Probably, if you stick your toe in there. Here we go. What are you thinking?
It seems in the spirit of. So.
No, of Nosferatu? Yeah. What do you think, Lydia?
I love it.
Looks pretty great.
It does.
Yeah.
I love the font.
The font is great. I'm excited. Robert Eggers is going to crush this thing. I'm so excited for this one. This is one I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
I can't think of the only better pairing I can think of from filmmaker and director and material is Mike Flanagan and The Exorcist. So those are the two that I'm really excited for. And then finally, guys, I don't know if we talked about this. We might have. But did we talk about Constantine 2?
We, I think, mentioned that it, like the rumors are, but I don't know that it was anything official.
Well, what we have is that Akiva Goldsmith has delivered a script to Lorenzo di Bonventura to read. So they actively have a script for Constantine 2. Now, no word on if it's going to take place in, if it's going to be take place in James Gunn's universe or if it's anything like that. But he said that there's a script in his inbox right now. So, what are you guys' thoughts? We're in, right?
I think if they put Tilda Swinton in it, she's gonna look like exactly the same as she did.
Well, so will Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
so it's true. Look like a sequel that takes place 2 days later.
He has aged, but yeah, they have aged well.
Yeah,
very well.
Sign me up. I'll buy a pre-ticket.
Yep, I'm down too. That would be amazing, dude. I never thought that we'd get a Constantine 2, but having the screenwriter commission a script and then, it's like, okay, this is a possibility. This is a
Mhm.
real possibility. So I'm super excited about that. And that wraps up the horror news, guys. Like I said, not a whole lot, but enough. I know I skipped a thing that Derek sent us this week about the new Peter Pan film that's on the way.
Oh boy.
Why'd you skip
Oh
over
boy.
that?
Because there's not much to say except, well, there's another one of these.
It was an interesting trailer, I thought, though.
Interesting. That's a good word. That is a word that I would use to describe something that I don't understand. And I don't want to be mean to, so I say that's interesting. All right, guys. Picture it. It's 2001. You see this giant spaceship, and you hear don don. I'm sorry, I'm describing the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. My bad. I need to get now. Picture it. It's the year 2001. Okay. You know who's hot in the year 2001? Nicole Kidman. You know who's hot now? Nicole Kidman, because she's gorgeous. But
Fair, fair.
fair point. Fair point. So it's 2001, and what is hot for real is shortly before this, a little film came out called The Sixth Sense, and it kind of reinvigorated the supernatural thriller genre. So we were getting a ton of these supernatural thrillers around this time. We're getting this. We're getting like The Skeleton Key. We're getting just tons of them, right? Tons of these supernatural thrillers were starting to come about, and this is one in that cycle. It is the 2001 film directed by Alejandro Amenbar. Hopefully, I didn't butcher his name too badly. I apologize. But this is The Others. So, guys, do you guys remember the first time you watched The Others? Because I think we've all seen this before, right?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
been a long time ago.
Do you guys remember your first time watching it?
I remember, yeah, I definitely remember I don't have like the clearest memory, but I remember like how this movie affected me like more than I remember the actual movie. You know what I mean? And I've seen
Yeah.
it since, so I remember, the movie, but I can't remember the first time like where I was or what I was doing, but I do
Yeah.
remember like it stuck with me. Like it definitely had an effect on me.
Yeah. How about you, Derek? Do you remember seeing the trailers for this guy and stuff?
Oh, 100% I remember seeing the trailers for it. I'm trying to remember if so this is 2001.
Yep.
I was still in high school.
Yeah.
I was a junior,
Yeah, because I was a
and
freshman going on sophomore.
I'm trying to recall
Just
if
a
I saw
baby.
this.
You were.
Yeah, Lydia, thanks a lot. But that being that early, I don't know that I saw it in the theaters. If I didn't see it in the theaters, then I definitely rented it like when it came out, like during its release in post
Yep.
theater life.
Yep.
So yeah, I do remember seeing this. I didn't remember like a lot of like the overall um
You remembered the story
context
in
of
in the
the
twist.
story,
Yeah.
yeah, and the twist, and like everybody who saw the commercials remembers the old lady on the floor.
Yeah.
And if you saw Master P's Don't Be Scabbed, then you also know what I'm talking about. But we're the only four people, me, you, and your brother Zach, who have seen that movie, so.
Yeah, we are. That's three people, by the way, unless you're counting Master P himself.
I was including Lydia, but I was like, but no, yeah, it was three. But yeah, don't
um,
be scared. Just
don't be
FYI.
scared, Master P. Um, I remember, like, I don't remember like exactly like the time or day watching this. One of those, like I remember going to the movies and seeing Batman '89 at the age of 3. That was a trans fictional, like it just blew my mind. It was transformed my whole life. transformative experience. Or the first time I saw Star Wars, I remember exactly where I was and all of that. But like this movie, I remember it being out. I remember seeing the trailers, and then I didn't go see it in the theaters, but I do remember renting it on early DVD, which I have this like fondness for. Like when I think back, I have a nostalgia for. There's something special about early DVD. The quality was shit, but it was really cool that you had movies on a disc, and it was better than VHS, and you had special features. So I remember renting this around that time that we after we got our our first DVD player, and it was around the same time we were renting like Scary Movie 2 on DVD and stuff. My mom basically we'd rent a movie each weekend, and this one was one of them that we definitely watched. And I remember it being suitably spooky. I remember the end, having a good the twist, but it was not one that ever scared me. Like I was never like it was one of those where, especially as my teenage self, I was like,
Yeah.
"Where's Jason?"
Yeah, it's a little slow for the young
It's
audience.
definitely slow. It
You
definitely
know,
slowed.
you know what you just reminded me?
What?
Because yeah, I take for granted the fact that DVDs have not been around forever, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually probably watched this movie on VHS.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I
God, I'm
definitely
that
watched
old.
this on definitely watched it on DVD because I remember like the menu, like it was like a still screen and the music
Hmm.
playing.
I
I
But
remember
watched
my
I
first.
watched this on that DVD tonight. Like I
the one
just
with the
watched
still
it.
frame? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, with
I
the
have
still
the
picture.
two disc
Yeah.
special edition on DVD.
Nice.
I
Yep.
don't know where
Yep.
it came
That's the
from,
shit.
where I got it. I might have thrifted it. I can't even remember now, but
Probably. Probably.
it was
Um.
fun.
So, yeah,
The
this
special
this
features
movie
really sucked, I have to say.
not the best on this one. Not the best on this one. There's some of those, man. Some of those early DVD. I know we're getting into a little tangent here, but some of those early DVD special features were phenomenal. Like, give you like the best like behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Featurettes, and then you had audio commentary, which is like the best thing ever. Director's commentary is like where it's at for me. Actually, if I want to fall asleep and like I want to feel nostalgic, I'll put it in the Evil Dead commentary and just listen to it. It's just it just warms my heart. But so this movie, where do you guys want to start? I mean, I guess let's start with the cast. Let's talk about Nicole Kidman first because she is the lead in this. She's the big actor. Um and she's great in this movie. Like terrific, right?
Yeah. Probably my first like introduction to her was this movie, you know?
You know what mine was?
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder was Days of Thunder, and you know what the one that I knew her from the most though? Batman Forever.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
you're right. That's probably my
Yeah. I remember going to the theaters and I remember the scene where she was on the rooftop and she like is in that like lingerie and I was just like, I like girls. I realized it now at the age of 9. No, she's great in this. She's stunningly beautiful too, man. Like
Sorry, I was
like
just
she's
thinking
so
in my head like
oh
Val Kilmer, and I was like, I like boys.
yeah. Huh. Yeah. Batman Forever was a sexual awakening for us all.
Yes, yes.
Some people saw Jim Carrey in his Riddler outfit and was like, that'll do for me.
I don't know if anybody took that away from that movie.
Drew Barrymore is also Drew Barrymore is in Batman Forever. We sometimes forget that.
Is she?
She is. She plays Sugar, one of Two Face's henchmen,
Yep.
henchwomen.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
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 I'm gonna have to Google it now.
Yep. It's interesting. And that has nothing to do with the movie
Okay.
we're doing tonight, but
The
interesting
Google.
factoid, gang. Interesting factoid. Watch our Batman Forever podcast. It's called Forever Awesome.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just each week we talk about the same parts of Batman Forever. um but yeah, Nicole Kidman's great in this. And the performances of the children are awesome too. The kids are great.
The
They're
kids are
spooky kids.
wonderful, man. Well, they just do such a great job.
Yes.
And that little girl, she like knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, Alenkin, I don't know how to say her name. Uh, Alakina Man, maybe Alakina Man. It
Cute.
plays
She's a
Anne,
cutie.
yeah, and then James Bentley plays Nicholas. I had no trouble saying his fucking name, did I?
Yeah,
um,
he is so like haunting, like in his
he
like
is, yeah,
sadness and scaredness, and she is so like tough, like
yeah,
such a smart, tough, resilient little girl. It's like she's she's just way ahead of the game. Like so
yeah.
so amazing.
It is, and the uh basically the staff, the wait staff, uh, are so good, right?
They really
Um,
are, yeah.
Like our caretakers, they're so
they're
good.
wonderful.
The woman especially, the woman that plays Bertha, right?
She did, yeah,
Finola Flanagan.
stellar.
She's so good. She's
Yeah.
so good
You
because she
know,
like
I'm
has
gonna.
both the sweetness to her and like the hauntingness when we like when if you've never seen the movie and you're watching it first time and you think that she's the big bad, and you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh yeah, she's sinister. She plays all those angles really well, but she's also really compassionate and sweet with the kids, and you're like, just what a great performance. Um, so this plot is kind of interesting. I mean, it's really. What do you guys think of the whole light allergy angle?
so I'm assuming that this was a condition that they had before,
Well, no,
and I
It's a real
it's a real
condition.
it's a real
no, it
condition. It's
is. It is a. No, no, no. I mean, like,
photosynthesis. Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is, I assume that that's an actual condition that the kids had.
Photosynthesis. That's plants.
yeah, yep. Photosynthesis.
But
That's what it's called.
No.
but yeah, it's very interesting. I watched like a made-for-TV movie about a kid that had this. It was anyway.
Oh,
So
Yes.
not my first exposure to it, but
okay.
very
Yeah,
interesting.
photosensitivity is what it's called.
Yes.
Um,
But the rules of this house, man, I don't know if I could do it. If I were
no,
the help, I'd be like, okay. Why don't you just put them in like a cloak
yeah.
and let them walk around?
So yeah, so I mean that's essentially part of what drives her mad, right? I mean, the the darkness, having to take care of the kids in the darkness, plus her losing her husband. Those are all like the factors that drove her mad, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I took it more of the grief from her husband's death and like being,
Well,
yeah. But I'm sure
no,
it contributed. I'm sure her
no, I
mood. I'm
think
sure
it's
she was
both. I think it's
depressed.
100% the
It
Yeah.
could very well could be.
She
Yeah.
she says the house is unbearable. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about how unbearable it is. She talks about like how she has to see. She opens the curtains when she leaves, when the kids are in other rooms, so she gets the light because she feels so lonely because she can't go anywhere because she has to take care of the kids. The kids can't leave, so that's why she does what she does. Is the kids are a burden to her essentially. Um, so it's their condition played a huge part in that because they can't go out like regular folks, right, and just go to the market. She has to get somebody to go for her, because she can't risk having the kids be, hit by the light. Which I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you'd have to have a really severe version of it that it would kill you that quickly. You know what I mean?
I think
well,
she
on
mentioned
the
that it
special
creates burns
features,
and
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
in the special features, there's a little segment that was the most interesting part of the entire special features. That was like a whole segment of this disease. It's a real thing, and
Mhm.
it's this family whose little girl had it, and they said they were outside for like a minute, and their child started to blister up like dramatically, like all over her face and arms, and they were like, we don't know what's going on, like it's like you don't think about they had other kids that were just outside. They were like, maybe it was the tree or something. They thought it was an allergic reaction, but there's actually a lot of kids. It's pretty rare, but there's a lot of kids that do have it. So I don't know. Maybe it is something that I don't know. It's like something that your DNA can't protect from those
Yeah,
rays. You know?
it's an immune. I think what I read, because I looked it up afterwards. There's like an immune system response to it, right? To the
Hmm.
light.
It's
It
like
creates
if
an immune. It
like
sends your
it'll
immune system in
blister.
overdrive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you'll like because we can just our skin will just like protect us from damage like that, and you'll get a sunburn and it'll peel off and you're
So
fine. But
yeah, it reacts like your skin's being burnt because that's the your immune system overreacting.
yes, and it
It's
will cause
basically an immune.
tumors and cancer
Yeah,
if you're out there.
it's an autoimmune
Yeah,
disease essentially.
it's pretty insane. Like
Yeah.
if you think about living with that, and this family that in the special features was like, how do we? They had to close and lock all the doors. They said like they were like we literally had to like protect our child from the sun. It was insane.
I mean, now they have like medicine for it and such. Uh, so they can kind of help with it. But also, a lot of people grow out of it. Is the thing too. People grow out of it. Um, but what's interesting, I like the usage of it for the movie because it has a reason for them to be trapped and not be able to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gives you like an isolation, and then the mystery surrounding the maids and stuff, the caretakers. Which, by the way, I remember seeing this when I first watched it. It's one of those. So the twist of the movie, the main twist. Did you guys see that coming? Like we'll talk about it itself,
The
but
first
later.
time
But
that I watched it,
uh-huh.
if I'm gonna guess, I would say probably not to the exact extent that it was. No, I would
Correct.
not.
Like I didn't know exactly what happened,
Yeah.
but I 100%
You-
knew that they were dead. I got the twist that they were dead pretty early.
I definitely didn't. I was
Well, you
like,
were a kid.
I
You were a
was
kid. You were
oblivious.
little. Yeah. You were little. I definitely got it. Like because I was like, well, because the way they're talking about we got to make them see and that sort of stuff. Then
Hmm.
the graves. I'm like, oh, they're dead.
Hmm.
They're dead. And then the way she was acting, I was also like, maybe she killed him, but I didn't know how or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that comes out at the end. But
It's like even if you
um,
do guess it, there's still all of this other stuff that you're like, well, how does this work? And like, what does this mean?
yeah. So, what do you guys think of the scares in this movie? And do you guys think it's scary?
I don't think it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of them quite work the way that a traditional like scary movie would. And it's more just that this it's suspenseful and
Yeah.
it's mysterious. The whole time you're trying to figure out like what is going on, but they didn't play as much into the horror element of it, which was fine. I thought that the way that the approach that they took was fine. It was entertaining for the most part, but yeah.
I definitely, I thought it was super scary when it came out, and I think probably a lot of people thought it was pretty scary when it came out. Knowing the twist and watching it at today's age, I wasn't scared at all. But I do think there were a couple of really good scares in there, like clever kind of, I don't know, things that just kind of make you like cringe and jump a little bit. Like when the door slams in her face, I really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
of course, like the girl, with the veil on is like pretty creepy.
Yeah, the thing about the
The
veil that
old
sucks,
lady,
though,
yeah.
is that the thing with the veil is that it got ruined by the trailers,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it's one of those that got ruined by the trailers.
And
but
Scary Movie
um,
2,
yeah, of course,
or
yeah,
3,
yeah,
or
that
whatever
too.
it
And
was.
don't be scabbed.
And don't be scabbed. But I do think that no, I also don't think it's very scary, but I think it's fitfully spooky. I think if you
Yes.
put this on, like, it gets you into like the spirit of like fall. You can kind of get into that kind of spook season spirit.
Atmosphere, the haunted house
Atmosphere.
atmosphere.
I think it looks good. I think it's well shot. The movie is, except at towards the end when she's standing in front of the house and they're approaching with the gun. You can see the obvious horrible green screen of the like mansion and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
She's like
there's
kind
a
of
couple
flipping there,
times.
and I was like, well, that 2000 screensaver doesn't cut it these days.
When they first walked into the mansion, the background was a green screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
there were a couple times you could spot that stuff.
Yeah.
Gorgeous castle, whatever it's classified as. It was
His
beautiful.
big home.
Yeah.
I do, yeah. I do think, like you said, that the atmosphere is good in it, but I think it may be a little too long.
You got it.
Yeah, because
A little
I
too
think,
long.
and here's why. Here's my opinion. I think it's because they kind of ran. The idea is kind of over about at the halfway point. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they kind of
Mhm.
have done the spooky stuff that they can do. So they bring in the husband plot because they need a reason to stretch this on a little longer. Is how that part felt to me. I mean, I go emotionally, it works, but it's like that's what I felt like. Like as a screenwriter, I've been there where you kind of get yourself into like like a dead end, and
Yeah.
then you write yourself out of it. And that's kind of what I felt like is that just it's a skosh too long. Right? Do you feel that
I
way
think it
too?
was a book, and I think that's probably because you could totally read that as like, okay, this is this chapter, and then this is this chapter, you know.
Well, yeah, it's not a book. It was written and directed by the uh by the Alejandro guy.
Hmm.
But it's not like overly long. It's only 104 minutes. But it still feels like it's a little too long, I think.
Oh, we didn't talk about Christopher Eccleston
Yes.
because
Go
he
ahead
has
and talk
been
about him.
on our podcast before in 28 Days Later.
He has. Indeed.
That whole plot line was so sad.
Yes. It is.
It was so sad.
It is so
Super
sad.
sad.
Yeah.
When he comes back and then, basically it's like he came back to it's what he said. He came back to say goodbye to everyone, to say goodbye to his wife and cuz he's like moving on.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like. He's moving on. He's stopping by to say goodbye because he's going back to war. And it's like the house made her stay by bringing him in, almost. The fog, as they call it. So the rules of the haunting are very unclear. The rules of this afterlife are deliberately vague. So we don't really get any answers. They're obviously in some sort of limbo, or this is the afterlife. We don't know.
Yeah. They allude to limbo.
They do. They allude to it in a bit of because the kids are actually questioning some of their mom's wild beliefs.
Some of them
so.
were. I when I was watching, I was like, man, that's some wild shit.
Yeah. So they're going through that, but the rules of this afterlife are interesting. The twist itself, the reveal of the twist, still hits pretty good. It's still a great set piece, I think. Her walking in and seeing the seance is a really cool idea.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good reveal. Because she kind of walks in and realizes nobody can see her, but they're hearing the kids and all of it. And that's when she starts to make the realization of what happened.
Oh my
that
gosh.
she smothered her children with a pillow.
Yeah.
And then offed herself with the gun.
Yeah.
The rifle that she'd been using.
I think when they really let the card slip, and maybe it was intentional, was when they were she had attacked her daughter, and her daughter was in the bed with her brother, and she says something along the lines of, "She attacked me like she did that one night."
Yeah, she went mad again.
Yeah.
There's a couple different instances because she talks about it earlier in the movie too about when she went mad, And
Mm-hmm.
then the father alludes to it when he comes home. Is it true what you did to the children? And she's like, oh, I was under a lot of whatever, and she kind of excuses it, and he's like, basically that he can't forgive it.
It's a
And
tough one.
so she's like kind of stuck in this, but like, is that her afterlife? Why are the children stuck? There's just so many questions because the children are stuck here too with this person that did not protect them, that did the opposite of what they were supposed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like kind of it's a downer ending because there's like no like moving on to the next phase or.
Actually, I felt like it was a little bit, the ending was a little more uplifting for me because she had come to terms with the atrocity that she had done to her own kids. And in a way, it seemed like that they had forgiven her and they were going to be in this house forever together. And I think that, eventually she, like, where else would she rather be? Like that, obviously not
Right,
the journey, but the destination might not have been so bad,
right,
if that
but
makes sense.
to me that's a downer ending because she gets no comeuppance for committing a horrible atrocity against her kids, and they're stuck with their murderer for eternity.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a
Yeah.
perspective.
It's definitely, they play it like in such a way that they're like, the kids go in the sun and they're like, look, it doesn't hurt
Yeah,
anymore. And you're just like, okay,
yeah,
good.
because
you
you're
know?
dead.
Yeah, yeah. It's intense. It's definitely intense. And when the little girl realizes it, because she doesn't even fully understand, and she's so smart, but she doesn't
Yeah,
quite get it until she's talking to the psychic woman,
yeah,
and her jaw drops when she's like,
I'm
why
not
do you
dead.
kids stay
Yeah,
here? And she's like, they just all start yelling it. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely creepy though.
Poor Victor's just like, who the fuck are these kids in my my house?
Yeah, he's the one who should be scared.
Absolutely. Poor Victor has no idea what's going on. Living his own life. He's like,
Just
I don't
harmless
know.
kids though, it's like they were like
Yep.
practically playing, like,
Dude, when she's one of the good scares, or at least a cool moment, is when she's like, touch his face, let him know you're here,
yeah.
and it touches Nicholas's face, and he freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good because you're thinking, oh, these ghosts, because that's the thing. It came out around that same time. Also, Hill House, a Haunting came out. The Haunting with Liam Neeson came out
Hmm.
around this time as well. All those kind of ghost movies. So yeah, that is The Others, guys. Any other things you want to talk about regarding it before we get into the ratings and stuff?
It did make me really depressed when I watched it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which, if you're somebody who's making a movie, I guess you would rather than be depressed than be like turn it off halfway through. I watched the entire
bored.
movie,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was just like it was sad.
You know what my favorite part
yep.
was?
What's
What?
that?
The house.
The house is cool. Yeah,
I love, and that's one of the things a point that I wanted to bring up was like when I watched this when I was a kid, I thought this was like in the Victorian era. Like I thought this was set way back, so I was kind of confused watching this. Like, what time period are we in? And then it's like in the 40s
Derek.
or something. But
Derek, stop.
I didn't do
Okay.
anything.
Yes, you were.
Did you
All right.
do?
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Lydia. Yeah, it takes place in like the 1940s.
yeah,
Yeah.
but so they're like completely cut off. Like they don't even have like electricity. Like they're using oil lamps, and I was like, I always thought that this was set back like way earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
I did too. When, like before I rewatched it, I also thought it was like in the Victorian era. That's how I always remembered it in my head. And then like it was more modern. When the people were more modern, they're doing the seance. And then you come to find out that no, when we started watching, I was like, oh, this takes place during World War II. Okay, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, And then look at this over here. We have these people from the 50s, basically doing their thing in the
Mhm.
50s. And it's like weird. So how do you guys feel about the others?
I suppose I'm going to go first.
Sure, if you
You were
want. Yeah.
winding up. You were winding up, so I
Yeah.
didn't say.
Oh, well. It'd been a while since I've seen this movie. It was entertaining. It did have my attention. It gave, it invoked feelings, so that's always a good thing. It will probably be quite a while before I watch this movie again. Not
Yeah.
because it's necessarily bad, it's just the tone of the movie is just it's one you have to be in the mood to watch.
Yep.
And I had thought about this movie a couple of times throughout our podcast, oh, should I mention this? Should I, commit us to watching this movie? So I wasn't sad when you brought it up. Um, I'm gonna give this movie I'm gonna give this movie a 6. That's where I feel like this movie is.
What do you think, Lydia?
I think I'm gonna go with a 7. I really like this
Okay.
movie. I like the tone. I like the mood. I like the haunted house. That's just my kind of thing. That's just personal preference. I'm the spooky haunted house girl. I'm like, I desperately just want a house like that, and I want it to be haunted, and I want to be a ghost in it.
Well,
The the aesthetics in this movie are top notch, and I
they
really
are.
I
Yeah.
the actors did a fantastic job. The material is, but yeah, I go, you go, Lydia.
Yes. Thank you. I don't know. I could watch Nicole Kidman like just walk around an old house in that pretty dress and just like I don't know. I just love it.
So could I, Lydia. So could I.
Yeah, I like this movie too. I think I'm gonna give it a 6.5. I'm gonna be right in the middle of both of you because I think it's really good. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I think it's very solid. I think it's super confidently made. I think it's very well acted. It's like a prestige, feels like a prestige horror. Um, I feel like I'm watching like Australia or something. Like cinema at certain points. So it's a good, solid, little haunted house movie. I like this one. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6.5. All right, who would Tom Atkins be in this? Time to Atkinize. Who would Tom Atkins play?
The
Christopher
dad?
Eccleston's character.
Yeah, he played the dad. He'd have to, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Because he does get the old Derek.
I'm sorry.
He does get the s- slip the salami to Nicole Kidman. So
Ugh.
gets the passer. They all take the old one eye to the optometrist. Hi-oh.
I'm a guy and I'm appalled.
Let's just say he bent her over the barrel and showed her the 50 states, if you know what I'm saying.
They're in Europe, bro. They're in Europe.
Well, she still saw them.
Wait, what would
All
that
the
be?
states.
The United
Nations.
Nations?
Um, so yeah, I think that's a good choice. Whose turn to pick? Is it mine?
Nope. Mine.
Yours? All right, Derek, what are we watching?
A movie I've never seen, and I've wanted to forever.
Okay.
Jamie and I slightly on accident set in on a Q&A for this
Oh.
movie and then quickly excused ourselves. Not because we didn't want to be there. We were expecting something else. We are going to watch Terrifier.
Oh, snap. I did not expect that from Derek.
I know.
What's that supposed
We'll
to
see
mean,
how he
Lydia?
feels about it after. We'll see how he feels about it after, Lydia.
It's streaming free on Tubi, just
Okay.
FYI.
Okay.
Okay,
And
this is
it's on
gonna be a
Peacock
hell of a
and
Halloween start.
Ooh, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna
Netflix.
start off wild.
Never seen this movie.
I don't think you
Terrifier.
know what you're getting into, Derek.
Definitely don't.
I have no idea. You're right. No concept.
I love it. I
All
can't
right.
wait. Film. Actually, you
Fair.
know what? The podcast should just be Derek filming himself watching this movie.
Watching Terrifier. That would be good. That would be.
I
We
wanna
need
see-
to
I wanna
actually
be
do
there.
that, and we'll splice clips of it in. Yeah.
Yes, because I really just want to be there for that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm so intrigued. Why do you feel that way?
Because
I
it's
just-
fucking wild, Derek.
That's real. It's
I've
really
never
wild.
seen this movie. What is it on IMDb? What is it ranked? Or not ranked, but it's a 5.6. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a cult classic, I would say, at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's part 3 is about to come out, so it's doing its thing.
Yeah,
It's just you don't know what to expect, and I love it.
yeah.
All right.
So funny.
So next week we will be watching Terrifier 3. Derek, do you got a story for us?
Terrifier 1.
Terrifier 1, I mean. That's what we're watching. The first of the 3. Terrifier 1.
Yes.
Derek.
Do I have a story? Man, I don't know. My
This is what I deal with, people.
my mom's ex-husband ate worm pills for a dog one time because he thought it was Tylenol.
Oh no. What happened?
Well, he did have heartworm.
That's good.
He so we had a dog and the dog had heartworms, and so we got medication for it. And I remember, dude, I was so young. Gosh, I had to be like maybe 6. I was really young. And I remember him complaining to my mom about having a headache and her telling him that there is medicine like in this one place. And he took some, and then she realized what he had taken and told him about it, and then he was like, "Rawr." And he was upset, and I'm pretty sure it was harmless to him. But still, he would have fit right in 2020, 2021, taking pills for
Ivermectin
animals. Yeah. No, he was a really great guy though. That was a sad thing. So he was the only guy I ever called dad because I was so young. I thought he was my dad. Because at that point, the only memory I had of my dad was painting a fucking license plate a different color so he didn't have to pay for the renewal. Because back then they gave you, like, your plate color was what distinguished your year to year. And so he was painting a license plate. But yeah, I remember, yeah.
Oh,
So what
Derek.
happened? With him?
My brother, who went to a psychiatrist, like, said that he said that this guy used to like hit him and stuff like that, and he didn't. It was just a way for my brother to, I'm sure, get this guy out of our lives to make room for my dad, who was never coming back. But so then they ended up having to break up, and all that fun stuff. He was an interesting. I want to say interesting, in that he was like some fascinating fella, but like he was kind of like a friend we know,
Oh,
where he
gotcha.
just like
Reading you loud and clear.
and then he eventually got a job at a place and just like made a career out of it, and then eventually did good things in life, but for a lot of the years he was with my mom, he just didn't work. He would sleep all day. My mom always took in the like projects, if you
The
will.
strays, as they were.
Yeah.
As they were.
Yeah, she definitely had a type, unfortunately, and
That's funny. You know what? I've got a quick little story for you that you reminded me of when you said you took the wrong, and when he took that. I remember being a kid, and my stepdad's brother came over for dinner. So my uncle, and he was kind of on the strange side, right? He was kind of an interesting, different guy, my uncle. and we didn't spend a lot of time with him. You know, we did. You know, when we'd see him and stuff, he was always really nice, but he was just a different guy. And he goes into the bathroom. He goes and uses the bathroom, or maybe he just goes to wash his hands before dinner. I think maybe that's it. So he goes in the bathroom to wash his hands before dinner because he's coming over for dinner. In our kitchen, the bathroom's right off the kitchen, right? And we just hear him. He goes, "Oh, oh," and I remember I was like, he's like, "Oh," and I remember looking at my mom, and my mom was like, because she always thought he was weird, and she was like, and I remember looking at her and then trying not to laugh, be like, "What?" And he comes out and he's like, "Oh man, I went to wash my hands and I used your toothpaste instead." Because we had the, you know, the dispensers. You guys remember those that you push down and it had like the two toothpastes in it? We had one of those, so he thought it was soap, so he just spread toothpaste all over his hands.
Oh my gosh. You know what? My mom did something like that once. This was like after the tornado hit our house, and we were like, the next day we had to like get a hotel room because we didn't have a house. And we were like, just everything was just so, chaotic and everything. And my mom was like, well, I'm just, we're in the hotel. And she's like, well, I'm just going to go take a shower. And she used like lotion as conditioner. And she said it was like the weirdest conditioner. And she realized like her hair was just like dangling. It took her forever to get her hair like sorted out.
That's so funny.
And she said her hair
That's
was
the
like
best.
the softest hair ever out for like 2 weeks straight.
And it was, yeah. Well, I'll tell you this: my uncle's hands were minty fresh.
Yeah. So weird. That's so funny. I don't
that's so
think that's
funny.
ever happened to me, like using the wrong thing. That's so weird.
Nope. And that'll
That's
wrap
hilarious.
up this week's episode of Scream Bloody Movies. Like we said, right down here we'll have the link to the Indiegogo, so go there and pre-register so we can get some movies made. You can follow us online at HiLaProductions.com. Follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. Follow us each on Twitter. You can follow Lydia at Lydia Spooky, Derek at DDogleymaster, and me at Racket. Be sure to comment down below on what your favorite part of the others is, and if you ever use toothpaste as soap. For Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, until next time, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.